So here's my 85 ATC250R. There's a full rebuild series, 3 full parts if you want to see the entire build. But there is the front forks now rebuilt. How do we get to that point? Well, let's start with getting the forks off of your machine. And then next step is going to be power washing, or not power washing, parts washing with helpers, and getting your forks completely cleaned up so whenever you start disassembling, you won't have a bunch of grime on them when you start taking them apart. So get your machine cleaned, then get your forks off, and then clean your forks up. That is going to be the first step, and then we'll take a look in detail here of getting these forks rebuilt. All right. Next up, here I have some front forks from a 1985 ATC250R three-wheeler. Here's the other one here. Earlier, I cleaned them up in the parts washer just to get them as clean as I could for getting ready to take apart. I didn't wipe off up here, but they had a lot of sand and build up on the bottom. So that's probably the first most important thing when rebuilding some front suspension is to try to clean them up the best you can, because you really don't want that dirt contaminating any of the parts whenever you take it apart to rebuild it. My bench looks kind of dirty, but I've actually wiped it down twice and tried to get any kind of residue or particles off of here. So it's pretty good, but even so, when I take them apart, I'll probably use a paper towel and set some of the pieces here on there as far as internal components go. So if you've never done one of these, and I've only done one other set of ATC250R forks, and heck, it's been probably 10 to 15 years ago, I can't even recall. You're going to want to make sure you have one of these books. Or a factory Honda service manual for the three-wheeler. I don't have that for the three-wheeler. I do for the quad, but I've got this climber that covers both machines. So there's a section here, starts on page 199, about doing the front forks. Kind of the very first section is actually getting the forks out of the machine, how to take those off. So now I was just kind of skimming through here looking. Relatively easy. It talks about loosening up this Allen head before I start too much, which that one doesn't look the best, so I'm a little worried about that now just looking at it. Talks about also using the vise, but maybe I need to put a rag or something in there to help kind of protect the housing there. So doing that, and then also taking this upper cap off and letting the air out if there's any pressure in there. So I'll start with that. Let's just take the cap off. I'll probably only do one at a time. I've got some new 10-weight fork oil here. Got my measuring cup I need to clean before I measure anything out. And we'll get started. I'll go grab some tools and we'll start up again. All right. I'm a little nervous. I went ahead and grabbed the Allen head tool I've got for the bottom, and it wasn't acting like it wanted to go, but it was just me sitting here holding it. So it says in the book to try an impact driver if it's never been removed. Probably had Loctite on it. I doubt mine has ever been removed before, so I mean, I could be wrong. It's hard to know. You know, it's an older machine. But I'm going to start with, there's a little screw here at the bottom. I think that will just hold any extra oil, I think. So I'm going to take that out, 10 millimeter. And then I've got my oil catch over here. I'll drain it out. That had some kind of thread lock on it, so we'll see if it's got any in it. Well, nothing came out there. Doesn't mean it won't. So next, I am going to use my vise here. I'm going to put a rag in it. And I'm going to tighten it down. I'm going to try. I'm going to cross my fingers and really hope this comes with the impact. Or at least loosens. I'm not going to go too tight there. I'll tell you what, I used to use an air cord impact, and then I bought this Milwaukee cordless electric one. I didn't think I would like it, but I thought I'd try it. I love it. Well, that wasn't any good. It just stripped out on the bottom. So that'll be interesting, to say the least, on what I'm going to do there. I might, there's room in there, I might try to weld a bolt to it that has the bolt head out here, that then I can loosen it that way. Before I do that, I'm going to take the top and make sure there's any pressure on it or anything. So, not too excited about that. You can't see it. Here it is, though. There's a little bit of room around there, though. I think I can get, a small bolt, maybe something like this, put down like that, and then weld it to that without damaging. I mean, I might get some splatter in there, but because my first thought's drill it out, try to easy out it out. I think that'll just break. I think the heat from welding this to the end of it and then turning it will definitely help my case. I mean, I'll have to get that new, hopefully it's just a regular bolt. It looks just like a regular Allen head in the diagram, so shouldn't have to worry about getting that back. But this is probably what I'm going to do, just so you know. In the book it says if it doesn't come out, take it to your dealer. Well, I don't know if they still work on these or not, but I'll plan on doing it myself. And you're going to get to watch along and find out if it worked or didn't work. So next we'll flip over before we come back to that. And it says to let out any air pressure. That's all this is for. You don't actually put pressure down in it when you rebuild them. This is just to let out air pressure that builds up in them. It didn't have any. These fork seals were shot, so that doesn't surprise me. So we'll go ahead and take that out. Yeah, no pressure. Set that there. Set some tools here. I went ahead and found, I believe it's a 27 millimeter to do this. Again, I'm going to use this. It shouldn't be that bad, but make sure I'm on turning it off. Yep. There might be a little bit of pressure in there depending on the spring. I can feel it pushing out. So here's what comes out. Got some nice looking old oil in there. I'll clean up that seal there. So I should have a spring, maybe some fluid. So here's still some fluid. So that's the first spring. So in the book, one difference in the 85 and 86 forks is the 85 actually had two springs. It looks like it has like a tender spring on the top, then another spring here. I'm gonna go dump out some of the oil. And pay attention, there was a washer between the springs. So, just so you know, which I'm I have some other progressive rate springs that I plan to use. I was going to do the forks one at a time, which I'm still going to almost do, but I think I'm going to double check the other one to make sure I can get the bottom out before I get my welder all set up. Because if I have to do the same thing to the other one, I want to be ready to weld it at the same time. And it might even be a good idea for me to take it apart, if it comes apart, without doing that, just to see what everything looks like, to kind of know if that's the best option for doing this. So I probably will do that. It's still draining oil. I don't think you can see from where you're at there. So I'm just holding it upside down right now, draining oil. The oil, I'm glad it still had some oil in it. It didn't seem like it had a lot. Definitely doesn't look very good. Looks like pond water. So go pond water. I looked for a while online. I mean, I didn't call anybody, which I probably should have, to try to see, kind of like most dirt bikes, you can order front springs for different weight ratios depending on what your weight is. And I wanted to do that for this to get some heavier weight springs since I'm a bigger guy. But I didn't see any. It kept defaulting out. I mean, the best option I could find was these progressive rate front springs are supposed to get stiffer. So we'll try those. And then, depending on, I'd read somewhere there was a spacer you could put with the spring, which will increase your spring rate. So that might stiffen it up a little more. I thought about going to inverts. I've had inverts on a lot of my other conversion machines, but I didn't want to do that on this trike. I think the factory forks will be a fine setup. At least we'll find out. I mean, I'm going to do more testing with it and take it out, do some jumps, see how I think the new set of rebuilt forks reacts. I just didn't see the need. I'd have to buy the kit, and I'd have to buy the forks, and then I would be taking those apart anyway to shorten them. Still need to get heavier weight springs for them anyway, so it started to sound like an awfully expensive project. So I opted that I would rebuild these, try that out. Even if I upgraded and went with the Racetech, I think they call it a gold valve emulators, which I'm still considering. I still want to see how it does before those, see if it actually makes a difference when I put them in. So I'm glad I'm not doing those yet. So all that came out was the two springs. There was the top spring, which was this one, had a washer below it, and then the bigger bottom spring, which I have down below. I don't see anything else. I can push it in. It goes to there. Go out there. So I'm going to stop at that on this one. So this one has oil also, but this one doesn't look like pond water. Still doesn't look very good. It looks terrible. I'm also not sure I'm going to use the same. Where did it go? I don't know. Just nervous about that. Alright, so that one's pretty much empty on oil. There's a little bit of crud. Tool pile here from working on everything. I haven't put it away yet, so a little bit of sand and stuff I didn't get out of this one yet, so I want to make sure I can get my tool, my Allen head, all the way down in there. So dig that out like that. That way the tool will fully seat, which it was fully seating in the other one, but I was worried before I even put the impact. I kind of had the feeling it was going to do that. So let's see here. The tool
I wasn't sure if I was going to use it again to try on this one. The tool looks fine. I don't see any damage on it yet. Feels tight. Well, let's put this in here. Put that fork tube there. I'm going to come down a little more right there. More support. And I'm not cranking this down real tight. I don't want to mess up the housing by any means, because that's something that isn't going to be available anymore. Then I'd be on eBay or the Facebook sites looking for a used set to buy from somebody. I know there's some out there because a lot of guys are upgrading to the inverted forks, but I feel like these factory forks should work. I mean, the progressive springs I think is around $100. It wasn't a lot. So new fork seal kit and oil. I mean, I'm well under $200 in all my stuff to work on them. So we'll see. Of course, if I can't get the bolt out with my welding trick plan later, I might be screwed anyway, but I don't know. Oh, look, that one was... No, what does it say? The damping rod might spin inside there, which I think it is. So I don't know how you get... Nope, that one's coming. Let's see. A little magnet here. So that's just the bolt. There's a copper washer below. You can see the old yucky oil. So I mean, as far as replacing that when I destroy it on the other one, shouldn't be too bad. I was excited and nervous about this project because it's just been so long since I've done forks. I've done inverts, and I remember those being a lot harder than these. So these, knock on wood, shouldn't be too bad. Alright, so I was looking at the book, and I turned this one upside down again to work on it some more. And this came flying out. I think it's the damping rod. That's because on this one, the other one didn't do that. It's because I took out that bolt, which I think goes on this end here. So this probably goes all the way down to there and then was holding. But the weld, nothing will go up and reach this. It's only going to be on the end on the...
Alright, so here is attempt 1 at welding something to the bolt. I was a little worried about whether the finish on that handle would transfer for the ground. Also, what I ended up using was the Allen head itself because it fit down inside the bolt, perfectly. So I was just going to try to weld it solid to it, keep it centered there, which was really tough to want to do. That way when I'm spinning it. So went around, just kind of tacking it in place, and then I turned it here. So the bolt itself did loosen, but there I didn't have it very centered, so you couldn't spin it very fast. So that made it challenging. So it is now turning, but the damping rod is turning, and I can't spin it very fast with the impact because it's wobbling since it's not perfectly true. So adjusted it here. Spun and spun, trying to get it out. I mean, at least it's turning now, but the damping rod is turning also. So then I started messing with that, trying to straighten it up maybe so I could put the impact back on it. And here in a second you'll see it snapped. So it was still down in there, but I lost it. So now I've got to weld it again. Attempt number 2. Alright, here we go again. Gonna weld a different bolt to the Allen head that broke off. So this time I just tried to hold the bolt with the ground clamp. I had a little more luck here getting it how it needed to be. And ultimately this did work.
So this is what it looks like. This goes through to this in there. So I'm just welded to the bolt. Nothing's been hurt here that I would think. I think a little oil burnt in there. But then this is spinning like that inside this one. So holding that, I'm not sure yet what I'm going to do to reach down inside there. I'm going to have to come in with something from the top and try to hold like that. I don't know. This is going to be, it's going to be interesting. Definitely a first for me. So we'll see if I can make it happen. Spin there. All right. Maybe if I pull that out, it'll put a little pressure on it. So, I think I can just hear it spinning in there. I think I can pull this upper tube out, which is our next step in the video, without having that out. I could be wrong, but I'd really like to get it out of the way. So here, maybe get around a little bit. Need to get that dust seal out. Helmet. Okay. So I just used to do this dust seal, little screwdriver. Didn't get down there because I don't want to scratch that. That's the old one of those. And there's a dirty looking snap ring for all kinds of grime. I found my last blue shop rag. I'm going to remove this circlip. So I just got really lucky. I just kept spinning this round and round and round, holding some pressure on the tube, and I was able to get the bolt out. I've already been on Rocky Mountain looking at the microfiche and the OEM parts diagram. And I'm going to get a new one of these ordered, because I need to order a few other things anyway. So there it is. Next steps, I need to get my snap ring pliers and get that one out of there. All right. Getting ready to try and get this snap ring out of here. Hopefully these pliers, snap ring pliers, will fit down in there. Oh, come on. Whew, got lucky. It didn't feel like it was going to go. There it is. I just used a pair of snap ring pliers like that, squeezed it in, raised it up, move a few things. Alright, so the next step, which I bought a kit that came with the oil seal, dust seal, and it also comes with new snap rings. So I should have a brand new one of these. I guess you could reuse it, but it seems like not a bad idea. Alright. So in there you can see the oil seal is down there. So far just the dust seal's out. Got a little bit of grime. So I'm supposed to be able to just put this back in the vise and do like that. And then take this, go like this, and this will actually pull out the oil seal. Yep. So that is the oil seal. Looks like there's a washer below it. There's the bushing. I can see all kinds of wear on the bushing. So I've got a new bushing. That's a wear part. Oil seal's wear part. Washer should be fine because I don't have that. And there's another bushing there. I don't know if I have that bushing, but pretty sure this is the one that mainly wears. I'll do some checking. So we'll set this down here like that. I think the rest is just cleaning. I need to clean this fork tube. I went and bought some more blue shop towels. I see there's something down in there. I'm going to take a look. That was just this. Looks like it went over the bottom of the other, and that bolt went through and held it. I'm not really sure what it does, but that's it. Now just a dirty fork tube. So I will clean that up, clean it out in the parts washer, and then it'll be time for reassembly. So I believe this end of this actually went down, yep, like that. So there we go. Alright, so it's apart. Now it's time for me to clean them up. Or this one, then we gotta do the other one. Alright, I've parts washed off everything, grabbed some of the new fork parts. I did learn that I did not have this very bottom bushing. It looks pretty good though. I don't see much wear on it. This upper one has a lot more. New fork boots, dust seal, oil seal, and then the wear bushing here. Alright. I thought it came with this clip new, the way it read, but it didn't. I don't have any, so I'm gonna reuse it. It'll be fine. Wipe it off a little bit. Some of the dust down there. Alright. Just trying to get it all cleaned up. So I'm going to start with taking that bushing off. Then I'm going to put the new bushing. Actually, before I put the new bushing on, it talked about coating everything with your oil. So I'm going to open my 10 weight fork oil. I'm going to pour some in the cap here for coating purposes. Be real careful and leave that open. I'm just going to use my finger, rub it all on the inside, outside there, so I got some fresh fork oil on it. And I'm going to put that over the fork tube, and it stops down at the other bushing. Next, the washer. goes on, or goes back on. So it goes there. I should have put some fluid on it also. So it said all parts. So I'm going to do that. Go back on. And then here's the old oil ring. Oh, it's tough. It's really hard. It's just not pliable at all. So the thing was pretty stiff. So here's the new one. It's pretty stiff too, but it's gonna, yeah, well, the inside moves there, so it's good. So here we go. Oh, almost forgot. I'll coat it with some fluid. All right. Overall, these have been, besides that bolt that was stripped out on the bottom that I welded previously, feels like it's got a nice good seal. I'll take that down to there for now. Alright, so old part, so it goes over here. So what you gotta do is this dampening rod, I'll put some new oil on it because I had wiped it all off. So we'll coat it. Alright. So then get that all on there. Put a little bit right there. So what you do is you put it down through here, and then sometimes you gotta wiggle a little bit, but it will come out because there's a spot there. Then this goes on the bottom of it, like that. And then we will go back on. Oh, it fell off. I want it to stay on there. So I'm going to get a rag from my hands. Got oil on. Take that. And it should, I'm going to do it like this, so it won't fall off as I put it down in there. Put that like that. Again, I'm going to put this rod on the end of there. This goes down in like so. That seal starts right there. That'll be the next step. Put that right to there so it's all the way down. And there's the seal. Just kind of put it by hand there for a minute. Alright, I'm going to stop this because I got to get my seal driver. Get it set up. Alright, so I've got a Tusk seal driver. I already bottomed the seal out. I've never used one of these. It's a little, but this goes like that and will clamp around this here, these prongs. Feel like plastic to push against the seals to go in. So from the best I can tell, that thing's kind of adjustable, is I will pinch it there. I'll put this on, and then basically, yeah, I mean, I don't see, I'm not really sure if I'm doing it right or not, but I think it's going to work. I'm holding it in, it's going to push pressure on it. Push it in. It's in a little bit, but not what it needs to go. That worked a little better. This has like a protective coating on the inside. It's kind of helping. Still need it to go a little more. Try not to pinch my fingers. It's working, but it's not ideal. So I don't know. There's probably better fork seal drivers. I might go look. See, it's got this coating here to help. When I was doing that, I still need to go a little further, but I have a fork seal driver. All right. So I did use the Tusk tool like this and just hit it in with the other portion of the tool. I was able to get the seal set all the way in where it stops, which you can see that by you'll see the spot where it's recessed for the ring to put on. I already put the snap ring in, so that is in. Next, I probably need to put this is the bottom bolt that I had to ruin one on the one fork, so I still have this one. I'm waiting for the other one to do the other. I'm just going to screw it in for a second. Or try to here. Hold this up. Get that to come. Yep, I could hear it come all the way down when I held it up right. And then now it starts. So I'm just going to start it by hand. I've got to get the tool. I'll tighten it here in a minute. So I got to find a different one since I welded the other one to the, well, it was this one. So I will do that in a minute. So overall, let's see here. Hold it back down into the vise. Just a little bit, not too hard there. All right. So next up, we've got a new dust seal. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of oil on it as well. Kind of help it go on. Come over the top here. And that's pretty much it. It sits there. So I've got that. And then while I'm at it here, I'm going to go ahead and slide this new, which I couldn't believe they still had, OEM fork boot I got from Rocky Mountain. And we'll take it like that. There it goes. It just perfectly sits right there. Oh, that looks good. I've still got, I didn't clean them. You can see how brittle the old fork boot was, what was left of it. So we'll put that there. I'll loosen this clamp. We'll change the camera angle here, but I'm going to loosen the clamp and put this on just to get it started. So it's there. I'm not going to tighten it down much yet because I'll have to set it once I get it in the machine to pull it all the way up. I just don't want it to fall off there, so we'll just call it like right there for now. All right. So the next step is I have these new progressive rate coils springs. You can see how they're wound tighter here and then they widen up there. They're supposed to get stiffer. The original setup was on the 85 had 2 coils in there, so I will only have this one, and I'll put the coiled end towards the top. I'm going to slide that in. Probably should put a little bit of grease on it, but it's all the way in right there. I am going to use the washer that was between the 2 springs on the 85 setup, and I am going to put it on top. It doesn't say I have to do that, but I'm going to do that. And then I have the cap, but before I put the cap on, I'm going to get it ready to put some oil in it. I'm going to need to put the lower drain bolt in and tighten the one, and then so yeah, without the cap on, so I'll have to clean that off, but let me get those put in. Alright, according to the book, 85s hold 400 cc's of oil capacity, or 13.56 ounces, and the 86 model holds 465 cc's, or 15.5 ounces. I assume that's per fork. I went ahead and measured out 400 cc's in my oil mixing cup of the Bel-Ray 10-weight fork oil. I went ahead and tightened the lower bolt here, in there. Now I'm going to carefully try to hold this upright, keep that spring in there. I'm going to go ahead and start pouring some of the oil in. And then this old fork's probably thinking, yum, some new oil, because boy, the stuff that came out of both of them was gross. At least I guess they still had some oil in them. So I'm going to go ahead and put this extra ring on top, and then I'm going to push this down in and get it started, which is the top cap. Which somewhere here, there it is. I'll tighten this in a minute, get it hand tight. Alright, I don't have my bleeder valve in there yet, so I'm going to be careful. I don't know if oil will come out that or not. Probably would if I'm not careful, so I might. I can tell you right away initial impressions of how they feel versus I kind of pushed on them before I took them apart, and I'm pretty impressed. It feels pretty good. Let me put this valve stem in the top. That way I don't start pushing harder on it and have oil come everywhere. And sadly tonight I can't finish the other one because I'm waiting on the lower replacement bolt. It feels good. You can tell that it's a little softer on the top, and it definitely starts to stiffen up. I'm just going to do that several times here to help distribute some of that oil. It feels pretty good though. I think that's a success. I need to not forget to tighten this, so I'm going to go ahead and set this little right here. Very carefully hold this. Not very tight. I might have to tighten this a little more so I can tighten that upper. If you can see this or not. I'm trying to adjust the camera. Makeshift setup here. Yeah, it's spinning there. I don't have it very tight, but what I know what I'm going to do is because I don't want to put that in the vise very tight on this upper portion, is what I can do is, think about it, I can put it in the machine and clamp this where it clamps on machine, and then I will tighten that. I need to check the torque setting anyway, and then actually do it with my torque wrench. But essentially, that was one fork rebuilt, pretty much factory minus the progressive spring. But excited to ride it with these on the front end. So still gonna need to do something with the rear shock. It's not bad, but it's not the greatest either. So we'll see.
Hey, thanks for watching. Essentially doing the other fork tube is the exact same process, so not going to make you sit here and watch that, or you'd probably click off of this anyway. But hey, hope you enjoyed. Hope this had some helpful tips, kind of shared the challenges I had. Please give me a thumbs up. Appreciate if you'd subscribe to that. That way you get notifications for future videos I put out. One additional info on this 250R video that I'm planning is a complete rebuild of the factory rear shock, like I did the front forks here. So I know a lot of you guys probably have these trikes, and if you still have your shock in the rear that's stock, it might be getting worn, and might be a good thing to see how the process works for it. It's been a while since I've done one of these as well, so I'm looking forward to it. Again, thanks for watching. If you haven't seen the build series on this entire trike, there's 3 parts listed on my page. And take care. Share any comments you have below.